Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer!
Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it!
Here's Limpar, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal are in front.
And we are live. Welcome to the Arsenal Vision live YouTube show on time. 5 minutes late is on time. Fashionably late is on time. You can, boom, block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe, ding the bell. You know what? I don't know any of that stuff, but I have a man here who does know all the stuff you're supposed to do. His name is Scott. You can follow him on Twitter at _that_crab. Hello, Scott.
Hashtag Elliot out. That's what was trending in the chat before we started.
Super. Really glad to hear it. That's really exciting and all that. But can you please just tell them what to do?
All right, so make us happy as video makers. Like, subscribe. When you hit that subscribe button, there's that little bell. You gotta hit that, and it'll ding. It'll make us happy. You'll know when we're here making live videos. It's fun. So yeah, enjoy.
Yes, enjoy indeed. Well, we are here. Gosh, you're not the same shape you were when we started, but there we go. That can be easily fixed. You're now the same shape. So what's on the agenda today, Scott? We're gonna talk.
So
yes.
Yeah, I think you were saying that we were gonna talk some top four.
Well,
that's exciting.
We are. I don't love it when you take what I've tweeted out as gospel because I'm not even sure what I said 5 minutes ago. So presuming that we're going to do what I said we're going to do, I can tell you what we are going to do, Scott. You know who's going to be here later, right?
Oh, our favorite guy?
Sjogren Mustafi's going to be here later. But we don't need to do that yet.
Can't wait.
Let's start with the top four stuff. So here's what we'll do. We'll fire away with the top four stuff. Let's start with the Arsenal Vision podcast predictions. This is the Arsenal predictions. We're popping up on the screen. Thanks to Paul, who put these little charts together. I am the little white line, the dotted white line. You are the dotted green line. What we're seeing here, Paul has us at 80 points, quite impressively.
Optimistic, yes.
Yeah.
Unbeaten the rest of the way, I see.
Yeah. And Scott, you have us coming in. It looks like 77.
I believe that sounds right. I think you said 77 as well there.
Yep. I did go with 77, and it looks like Clive had us at 78. I believe Tim was right in line with us at 77. So let's take a look at the United predictions. Nobody has United finishing above us. You think that's going to hold up? You feel pretty good that they're the outside looking in? Your model seems to have them really low. You're at 72.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's pretty much the consensus. So I think part of that, too, is while they've been really good under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they haven't been, the numbers haven't shown them as good as their performances have been. So I think that from them starting probably at the lowest spot, going forward, they're probably the sixth best team.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so no worries about United. What about Spuds? Spuds, you have them coming in right at 74. That's 3 behind us. So your model sees them falling off. Interestingly, Paul has the Spuds at 79. He was the most pro-Arsenal and pro-Tottenham, which explains the sort of contradiction boiling inside him at all times. Where do you see this going?
So I think that part of the thing that I think is going to happen to them is that, all the teams have a very busy April. And I think that that's really going to stretch their squad. They have a real high intensity Champions League matchup against Manchester City.
Yeah.
On top of that, they also have Manchester City in the league. So I think that is really going to take a lot out of them. They might have a little bit of a bump from moving into their supposed new stadium, which I still won't believe until I see it on TV.
Let's pretend for a second that happens. Do you think moving into a new stadium helps them? Or potentially hurts them just from it being so different right at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think you could see it go either way. Mm-hmm. So I think that you could definitely, make an argument that, maybe it'll give them a boost. It'll give them some more energy, get a crowd more pumped up. But you could also see that, there might be some time to get used to it. It's a new place. Maybe there's a little bit more pressure. They love putting the pressure on. So what happens when somebody puts the pressure on them?
Not to mention when it collapses, how many players will be injured in the impending collapse. So there's really no saying. Let's go back to the graphics for a moment here. The high quality graphics that were created for the show. Chelsea predictions.
Quality.
Yeah, lots of quality. Now, interestingly, just to reiterate, I want to show you the Arsenal predictions again so you see them. The lowest we have is Arsenal on 77. So this Arsenal podcast has predicted Arsenal to do pretty well. But for Chelsea, it looks like everybody has them finishing behind us. I'm liking where this is trending. Scott, you have them just on 75. So, again, your model liking us to finish ahead of them as well.
again, so these are my predictions, not necessarily what my model is saying. In general, my model says that they expect 71 points. But in general, this is going to be lower because even in matches you're favored, it's might get 2.5 expected points or 2.1 expected points. So there's sometimes that the model is going to be a little bit more bearish than some of the other times, especially when I'm predicting. So I think that they have a hard April just like everybody else. They got an easier draw in the Europa League than Arsenal, having to go to Slavia Prague. A little bit further travel, but a much easier team to face. So it'll be interesting. For them, I think that it's going to be a tough matchup though for them. They do have Manchester United. That one is going to have a lot of stuff going, on in the league, ramifications, where both teams are going to be fighting, and both, if a loss there probably knocks either team out. I think everybody had a draw there. Did anybody pick, either Manchester United to win that matchup between them?
Let's take a look. Let's go. Well, I guess we can probably tell from the chart, right?
Yeah, you should be able to.
So where was there? We have them going 57 to 60, win, 60 to 63, win, 63 to 66, staying on 66, and then it diverges. I think that's the United game there. Is that it? Or no, I think everybody had them getting a point maybe.
Yeah, I think it does look like that.
I have them losing.
You have them lost. Yeah,
and everybody else has them drawing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, what that lines up with is, I hate to say it, not only does that have Arsenal finishing top of the table, but that has St. Totteringham's Day. St. Totteringham's Day coming back. You heard it here in March during the Interlull. Stakes are low. No one will ever remember I said this, and certainly can't be blamed for jinxing it. But St. Totteringham's Day is coming back. It's happened again. It's happened again. Tottenham Hotspur. It's happened again. Quick word. I am wearing an Arsenal shirt. I would like to believe that this is the most reviled of all Arsenal shirts. Scott, you seen the Arsenal shirt? People do not like this shirt. It is a terrible shirt. It's not just terrible. The colors are bad. It's blue. It has the weird badge that isn't even the real badge. Do you want to know how bad it is, though? I gotta bring Scott up here. Scott, would you like to wager? Let's see. Let's get some wagers going in the chart. Are we going
to name the name on the back? Is that what we're? Yeah.
Okay, come on. Give me a guess, guys. Who? I want to say hello to Himanshu Taneja. If I butchered your name, I'm sorry. Did you just say that you were excited about us finishing top 40? We are. Okay. Anyone want to bet? Any gambling? Who is on the back of this terrible, terrible shirt? If you think back to me when I was like blogging still, I wrote a really, really bad blog, and one of the really bad episodes was about this player, or editions, whatever you call the blog, article? Post. Thank you, Scott, the real professional knows.
I'm still blogging, so.
What do we have? Do we have anyone in the chat guessing what this awful shirt belongs to? I could just take it off and turn it around, but then nobody would want to watch that. So we've got a Van Persie guess. We've got a Mertesacker guess. If I give you the number, will that give it away? I don't even know. Will people remember who wore this number this year? All right, I'm going to give you the number, Scott. You're going to have to show up your knowledge in front of all these people. The number on the back of this terrible shirt is 19.
I don't know. I'm gonna have.
That's my frog tea sipping pause. No? Should we spin it around?
It's not Bernd Leno, who's currently in the number 19.
Not a single guess for the number 19.
Frimpong? Is that Arteta?
Oh no!
We're getting all sorts of guesses in the chat.
No.
I have no idea.
Yes, Himanshu Taneja gets it. It is Jackie Wilshere, Brexit Jack. Yeah.
There you go. I always associate him so close with the number 10 that I forgot that he wore.
But Van Persie was wearing it at the time, and I do just want this to be a reminder to anybody who ever said that, you hated Jack Wilshere, you wanted him sold. He was like my favorite player after that Barcelona game. I loved him. Let's do this. Let's get into some topical news. Does that work for you?
I love topical news.
Can we do some news? All right, so I'm going to bring us over here. Oh my gosh, you got so small. You're so small. Look at you. You're just itty bitty. It's so cute. Yeah, you are cute. All right, you ready? We're going to go with the Thanos effect. I'm going to snap my fingers in. I just made Monchi disappear. Talk me through your reaction to Monchi not being our technical director and going back to Sevilla, spurning the Arsenal for the mighty Sevilla.
Well, so I mean, I don't. That's where he's from. it's, he played there. He was the technical director there before, so he's got the history with the team. I don't really, he's Spanish, so I can kind of understand, why he did that. It doesn't make me, think that he's spurning Arsenal, that Arsenal screwed it up. So I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, I mean, where do you fall? All kidding aside, where do you fall on the sort of like super scout, super technical director, like these in vogue, like Masters of the Universe? I think, look, Sven was off to a good start, right? Scott, like he got us Socrates, who's been good, Aubameyang, who's been good, Guendouzi, who's been, a really bright diamond in the rough that will hopefully become a superstar. Presumably Torreira, who we love. Leno has turned out to be a steal in terms of what Chelsea paid for Kepa versus what we paid for him. I feel badly that we've lost.
Is still out there as a question.
Yeah, I feel badly that we lost Sven, and I partly wonder if it's because we were just assuming we'd get Monchi to be technical director. Do you think if we could go back knowing we weren't getting Monchi that we would give Sven the technical director job? He was kind of supposed to be a dick. Can I say that? He was kind of rumored to be a dick. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think they lost out on the power play, so it seemed that it was either going to be him or Raul that was going to stick around. So I think that, we had to lose one of them, and I guess it was Sven who ended up losing the power play in the end. To me, it's so hard because a lot of these things, they happen in the back rooms, and, you don't necessarily know all of the information that's going on when these, super scouts are doing it. You don't know, is it some of it, agents are kind of, going through. This is a lot of, black box. You just got to trust the process of these guys to see, how things work out. You also, you forget, the misses. And I think there are going to be a lot of misses.
Well,
and
Roma's president kind of torched Monchi on the way out the door, didn't he? He kind of like really kicked him in the dick on the way out. Basically said he was garbage. He was handed everything and blew it.
And well, they had also, there was a very dysfunctional season at Roma. And I wonder part of that is because, they're just coming off a Champions League final. I wonder if semifinal appearance, where I wonder if that really raised expectations for them, because I didn't think that they were that good last year. I think they scraped ahead of, the Milan teams, but, after, Napoli and Juventus, the Serie A was just kind of a mess of, a bunch of teams that were kind of So I think that, I wonder if the fans and the ownership all kind of had a better idea, or a higher opinion of what the team was before, what actually it really was, kind of like what Manchester United were last season.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, expectations of them being, a title challenger, when just about anybody who has some, passing understanding of statistics could see that they definitely overperformed and that they were, due for some reinforcements. Even, Jose Mourinho was trying to reinforce them. So as much as I hate saying good things about Jose, he was right that team needed
I've got a mute button. I've got a mute button and I will use it. All right. Well, look, I think I was never totally convinced by Monchi. I think the thing that scares me is it feels like he was what we had planned and we didn't get our plan. And so the next thing that sort of popped up was Overmars, and let me go Thanos again. Thanos effect. Overmars gone too. Signed a new contract at Ajax. Still a chance we get him, you think? Maybe the new contract so we have to buy him out? We don't do that, though. We don't spend money.
I know. And, how low our transfer budget is already going to be. Do we want to blow some of that on the technical director? And, I think Overmars has had some issues as well where, people have been complaining about him. And, I think part of it, too, when you kind of look at these technical directors or these scouts, are they really going out and finding talent, or some of these things they're also kind of going through the country golden ages of new talent coming through. Monchi, when he was in Spain, that was the height of when Spain was producing all sorts of world class talent, and they were just coming up through the ranks, and Sevilla is a stepping stone to the bigger clubs, so it kind of makes sense for them to be able to blood the new guys before they move up. Same thing with Germany. That was the kind of the similar kind of time where there was a lot of talent coming up through Germany, and being in Dortmund, they have that reputation of playing the younger players, so players have that opportunity to come in. There's a little bit less pressure on the younger players to perform right away, so that it kind of is a good opportunity to create talent. But you look at Ajax.
Ajax.
I know Ajax. I can think of go scour my sink. And they've actually kind of been disappointing in the Eredivisie. They've I think finished behind PSV for at least 3 or 4 years running. They haven't produced a ton of talent. They have some new fresh blood coming in right now. But it really kind of took them this season kind of bringing in a few veterans players to kind of balance out the team to make them better. But they're still second in the league. So as good as they're doing in the Champions League, they're still second to PSV.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, I don't think we're panicked over this. Do you want to prognosticate about where this will land? So here's the only thing that scares me, right? We don't get Monchi. We don't get Overmars. Fine. You're seeing all these rumors of who our targets are, what we want to do, who we want to go get. Everything I've listened to from people who are intelligent, and I obviously don't mean any of us on the podcast, is that the groundwork for transfer windows is laid way in advance. And I worry that we're going to default to Raul just kind of using connections and going to his super agent friends and being like, who you got? Now, to be fair, we do have stats DNA. We do have guys that can identify talent. Maybe it'll default to Emery having more managerial authority rather than head coaching authority, as was kind of envisioned by his appointment. But to be fair, he was named head coach when Gazidis was the one kind of envisioning how this would all work. So what do you think? Do you think this becomes Emery's ship to direct, or that Raul takes the lead, Stats DNA gets to play a greater role? If we're going to have a productive window, and I think we agree it's an important one, who do you think is the one that will be identifying the targets? Look, don't get me wrong. We have scouts out there who will say, these are some guys we like. Someone has to say who we're going to go chase after and in what priority. Where do you think that's going to come from?
So the way that I would like it to be is that, you have Emery, there isn't a technical director, but, Emery kind of talking about where he feels he needs, strengthening in the squad. I think him kind of, being the final decision maker on, I want this player is tough because the world of football is so big. The amount of work that he has to do as the Arsenal head coach is so big that I think it's really impossible for a head coach to be able to stay on top of every match that's going on in the world. So even in just the top 5 leagues, it's impossible. There's so many matches going on. There's so many players that it's impossible to know and have a good understanding of everybody. I feel like you can get stuck in that, oh, this guy had a good game against us, let's go get him. And that really seems like that's a way to draw mistakes. So I hope it's more that, Emery is saying, this is the style of football I want to play. These are the players this is the type of player, not necessarily the player that I want, but this is the type of player that I want to be able to have in my team to be able to maximize the football. And, maybe, the Stats DNA guys can help, narrow down a list. Then we send our scouts out and, make a final decision, and then Raul is able to, use his connections, find guys that are available, because he knows all the agents, so which guys are willing to make a move, maybe which guys, can be a steal. So that's kind of the way that I would like it to work. If it is Emery that's out there saying, I want this guy, I get worried because that is going to be so much. You're going to have the bias towards players that Arsenal have faced against. I think there was a rumor that I saw today where, we are linked with Sarr from Rennes. And it's like, is it just because he had a good match against us that, that's, sparking interest? Because I actually think he has an interesting statistical profile for his age. But I'd hate to go into that, this guy played good. It's very much the Doc Rivers, what he did with the Clippers. When he was the GM for that team. He's like, oh, I remember, again, when I was coaching Boston, he had a good match against, or, good games against us. I'm going to go get him, but that was 5 years ago and, he's old and bad now. And it's like that, that's not a great way to do it.
I think the thing that scares me is that we have a squad that's imbalanced, right, Scott? And we had a plan that didn't look too cohesive, didn't look too joined up in its thinking. And the idea was that with Raul and Sven and Vinay and whoever was in there, that there would be this joined up thinking and there would be a plan about how we're going to rebuild this squad into something resembling balance. And with Sven leaving, it was like, all right, well, Monchi will get in there and they all know each other and Unai knows Monchi. And well, now there's no Monchi. Now you start to think like, we can't afford another window where we go off in a direction that then has to be adjusted again. You know what I mean? We need to find a direction that we're moving this squad and get there. And if we do finish in the Champions League, and I just want to reiterate that the Arsenal Vision podcast has quite clearly predicted that we will finish in the Champions League and that St. Totteringham's Day is coming. We just need to, we need to be sure that we don't blow a Champions League window. I like that I had a little slight pregnant pause after blow because you never know what's going to follow that. Speaking of blowing, let's talk to a central defender at Arsenal who is always opinionated. Hey, Sjogren.
Hello.
You worried at all about the transfer window? No, not worried at all. Excited for future of career to be at Arsenal for long, long time. Yes, diving into my career, you might say. Yeah, that's a good joke there, Sjogren. Sjogren, so you might be coming back into the starting lineup with Socrates picking up a minor injury on Greece duty. Do you feel ready to come in and play for Arsenal in this important run-in? Yes, very much so. I am always eager to help team be Europa League level. Yeah, I am aware of that. But we're trying to achieve Champions League level. Oh, well, maybe we hope Socrates get well. Yeah, we do. Well, Sjogren, we're still working on that cannon firing into the sun. Yeah, I go 2 foot sun. No problem. Okay, thanks, buddy. We'll see you later. That's Sjogren Mustafi. Always here to give us his thoughts. Scott, Socrates minor injury for Greece. Any news on that you've seen? I have not seen anything, but certainly cannot afford it. Not even one little bit.
I just the rumor. I haven't heard anything or haven't been online too crazy to see if there's been any update on the severity. So I'm hoping for a speedy recovery.
Yeah. Wow. Brandon Jason Grosso has some strong thoughts about Mustafi's inclination to go to ground, which are totally fine by me. Hey, shop from the Enclosed. The Enclosed.com, Enclosed.com. You get great lingerie there. We just threw in a lingerie mention for everybody who's a big fan. If you don't know, our podcast is sponsored by a lingerie company. Hey, my wife just got her first lingerie from the Enclosed. Some red panties, which the box came and I left it on the counter, and my toddler took the box and took the panties out and was playing with them when my wife got home from work. And it was all very confusing and unpleasant, and I'm sorry that I shared this memory on YouTube. So, Scott, you ready to play a game? Let's see if everybody's ready to play a game. Yeah. Everybody, you ready to play a game? Let's see. Are they ready to play a game?
I did, so we do have a
I got a game for
Mustafi, Transylvanian.
I don't know how to do a German accent. You would think, what is a German accent? Scott, give me a German accent.
Oh, I can barely do an
Wunderbar.
American accent.
It is wunderbar that we to play for the Arsenal. I cannot do it.
I think that feels better.
Does it?
Maybe.
It. I need, maybe it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe what I need
That's
to
Austrian,
do.
though.
It's Austrian, yeah. I mean, I could do it like Hans and Franz from the old Saturday Night Live skit, yeah. But no, that's not right. All right, you ready to play a game?
Let's do it.
All right, here's the game. Everybody ready? Here comes the game. And the game is quad player. From the players on your screen, pick one from their Arsenal Prime who you would drop into the current squad. One player from the ones you see on the screen now, Alexis, Cesc, Santi, Robin Van Persie, you could drop into the current team. And yes, I realize 3 of them are rats that nobody likes. Fine. I mean, what does it say about us that 3 of the 4 best players we've had in the last decade are reviled by many in the fan base? I happen to love all our players, current and past, including Puppet Mustafi. All right. So let's go through it. Let's go player by player. You ready?
Okay. So we're only picking one here.
You're only going to pick one. Let's start with Santi Cazorla. Midfield maestro, great with both feet, can dribble out of trouble, beats the press, can chip in with the occasional goal. Would Santi Cazorla be a choice for you? Maybe replace Xhaka and his immobility?
Yeah, I think I was definitely leaning towards that might be a good choice. I think it's my second choice though.
Oh wow, a lot of Santi votes here. A lot of Santi votes. I mean, look,
he's so loved. I think part of that is just the way he left the club. He didn't force his way out, but he's a great player, no doubt, hands down. I think that I think you could see a Santi and Lucas Torreira midfield really working well. I think he could help be as that number 10. He would add balance to the team.
What about this arrogant bastard, Robin, the Van Persie? I mean, I think the one guy you could probably rule out. So here's what's tough: can you ever rule out a 30-goal a season striker? But we've got 2 strike. Does the step up from Lacazette to Van Persie make us much better? And could you play Van Persie and Aubameyang in such a way that we would suddenly go and become a title contender?
Yeah, because that's the one part of the field that Arsenal really don't need another player. So as much as Robin van Persie is really, really good, he's actually kind of like, to me, like a combination of what Lacazette and Aubameyang can bring. So he was so good at getting on the end of chances. He was so good at actually creating for others as well. You could play that 9.5 kind of role where he could be a number 9, he could be a number 10. So he was so good at that.
Yeah.
If we were offered to have him in the team, you would make room for him. But I don't think that would be the guy of those.
So between those two,
he'd be the fourth choice.
So between those two, you're still going Sanity.
Yeah.
So just to put it in perspective here, we're gonna go. Let's do this. Let's get real crazy here, shall we? Let's take a color source. We're gonna get real nuts here. All right.
Oh boy.
I'm just gonna try to do this live. Okay.
We're doing it live.
And we're just gonna say, bye-bye, Robin. You gone. Okay. So we've eliminated Robin. He's knocked out.
You're not gonna Thanos snap him?
I can't. I don't. Look, man. We started 5 minutes late. And I'm like celebrating it. Okay. I've got graphics that are a little bit blocky and shit, but it is what it is. All right. So far, Santi's got it. We got Santi. Okay. Talk me through. I think, as hated as he is, for reasons I don't fully understand, this one is a tough shout. I know Santi and Cesc are going to be the most popular choices. Scott, I think you can make an argument that a dribbly winger who can beat a man and give you 25 league goals and 10 league assists, which he did, by the way. Man, can you imagine? That's where we're playing a Wobie right now. With all love to Wobes, who I do love. Wobie gets you 5 goals and an assist. This is 25 goals and 10 assists. You put him out there with Aubameyang, and holy shit, you got something now. I'm not saying people have to stop hating him. But again, we're talking prime Alexis. Alexis Sanchez could be a game changer. Everyone says, what do we need 16, in the summer?
17,
we need 24
Sanchez.
goals, 10 assists in the league. That's what we want this summer. If I said to you, we could get a winger who's a 24 goal, 10 assist winger this summer, you'd say that's my first priority, other than maybe a center back. So talk me out of it.
Gives it all on the press.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too much without the team, but you could never say that he shirked.
No, and I think we don't have that explosive do it on his own player right now. And I think there were times he was too selfish, sure, but the assist numbers speak for themselves. I know this is a tough one. Himanshu Taneja says, and by the way, Himanshu Taneja, if I'm getting your name wrong, I don't really have a way to fix it unless you want to type in a phonetic spelling in there. He says, no hate on Alexis, but goals are not a problem for us right now. Yeah, where do you stand on that? It's not so much that goals are the problem. It's that if we could get productivity from that position, what an upgrade that would be. That's kind of my feeling. No?
Exactly. And, there were so many times that I remember, him playing with, Olivier Giroud, and he would do something, pretty amazing creatively. And Giroud would just be a step behind being able to make, the play come off. And I could just, see him either with Lacazette or with Aubameyang, that his ability to create for others would really show in there. And one of the things that also I think really plagued, the late, season Alexis was that teams started to key on him as the main threat from Arsenal. So I think that, with the other offensive options that we have in the team, that would probably be taken a little bit off of him. So I think that it's definitely, I would say Alexis over RVP, still probably Santi over Alexis, but it's not as as close as I think that or not as far apart as some people say.
And then there were two. As much as I think Alexis's output on the wing could be a game changer for us, a guy who can beat a man, a guy who can dribble and get in the box and deliver it to Aubameyang, I think he'd have a monster season assist-wise with him. The people have spoken, and it's pretty clear we are down to the last two. So, Scott, the heart wants what the heart wants, and my God,
this has been my first choice since the beginning.
That's what I want right there. I want some Cesc Fabregas. I know that's going to upset people. There are a lot of people that still think he's a rat. I can't help it. I can't help it. I love the guy. By the way, wearing a terrible shirt, fully acknowledge, worst Arsenal shirt in years probably, other than maybe the mint green one we've got right now. And to make matters worse, it's a Wilshire 19 shirt, everybody. I don't know what to say. Forgive me. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. But enough about Brexit. Okay, so what do you think of the Cesc Fabregas thing? Talk me into Cesc over Santi. I mean, is this the player we're missing? The guy who could play the splitting pass, the guy who can score some goals from central midfield? I mean, he could do it all, really, except defend and chase back. But what do you think?
Yeah, I really do think that, if you put him in the Xhaka role and just think about the amount of technical ability that's now in that midfield. I think he's actually even technically better sometimes than, Santi. Maybe not quite as two-footed as Santi, but I think that, everything Santi could do, Cesc could do as well. And I think that there was just some things that he could definitely do just that tiny bit better. And he was just so good. And it's tough because, he left on such bad terms, but he was a guy that grew up with Arsenal, came in as a 16-year-old, was Arsenal through and through until, you got the Barcelona DNA that came out. So, man, yeah, I would love to see him being able to feed, the front three, being able to connect play.
All right, so let's do this. Give me the lineup you'd play if it was Santi and the lineup you'd play if it was Cesc, and let's see which one sounds better. So if you go Santi Cazorla, if you're going Santi, which lineup are you going with?
Yeah, so are we going to go with the 3-5-2 kind of a thing, or the 3-4-3? It's so I'm
gonna just stop you real quick for anyone who's just joining us.
4-2-3-1?
We're doing a quad player choice. So basically, I picked 4 players from the banter era, the post-invincible up to now era. In their prime, you could pick one of them to drop into this team right now and make this team the best it could be. We've eliminated Van Persie and Alexis. We're down to Cesc and Santi. So now we're going to figure out Santi and Cesc, how would you use them? So just want to refresh everybody on that. Scott, talk me through how you would put Cesc in Santi first into this team.
All right, so I think both of them are going to probably be Xhaka replacements. So I think both of them need, a defensive type next to them. So I don't think that you can have both, either Santi or Cesc next to Xhaka. I just don't think that gives enough steel in your central midfield, unless you're going to go with a 4-3-3 kind of a thing where you can have a third midfielder in there as well. But even then, I think it's probably best to go with either a 4-2-3-1, a 3-4-3, or a 3-5-2. So I think that either way, you're going to have a double pivot in the center. What about you? What do you think?
So with Santi, I think I'm probably going a 4-3-3, and I'm playing Torreira and Santi at the base of midfield with Ozil in front of them, sort of a double pivot-y thing, I guess. Gosh, this is tough. I'm not getting... Well, yeah.
Real narrow lineup, and you could go with the 4-1-2-1-2. So, the diamond.
Oh, the diamond. Yeah, the midfield diamond. Look, here's the reality, right? I think we agree we're probably best when we just pick one of the strikers. It sucks to leave one out, but I'm probably going to leave out Aubameyang, and I'm going to go full fucking tilt and play Santi and Torreira at the base, Ozil in front of them, Ramsey on one wing, Mkhitaryan on the other, and Aubameyang through the middle. And holy shit, that's a good team. I mean, I think that's a good team. Now, I mean, you could, I guess, theoretically play the diamond, and then you have, Torreira sitting, and you could have Ramsey and Santi on either side, and Ozil at the 10, and Lacazette and Aubameyang in there. That could work, too. I think that works. I mean... I think you could definitely see that working pretty well because Ramsey is comfortable going out wide. Ozil is so good at finding space. He can, when you're building, you could have the fullbacks and Ozil being able to connect on the left, and so I think you could make that work. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's interesting. By the way, what do you think it says that we are dropping one player in from these 4 really talented players, and both of the players who have made it to the final round here are guys who replace Xhaka? I mean, is that something that kind of tells you something maybe about who needs to be upgraded? I mean, is the fact that we're replacing Xhaka, I mean, we could be replacing Iwobi on the wing. We could be bringing in a better striker. We're choosing, and I specifically didn't choose a defender in here because I think everyone would just default to it because it's a need. But do you think the fact that we're picking a Xhaka upgrade is telling?
I think it partly is. So, I mean, I think that I think you could win a league with Xhaka as your central midfielder. I don't think that would be ideal, and I don't think that's the easiest thing. Midfielders are so important, especially for Arsenal, with the way that we want to play. We want to be able to control games from the middle, and it feels like since Xhaka has come in, we've lost some of that ability to control games. He just has so many of those stupid mistakes that he makes way too often, and it just hurts us so badly. And I think that we all pine for the days of, having a midfielder in there who was just so good on the ball. Even I think, we all wanted that Arteta replacement. Arteta was, kind of a store brand version of Cesc, or a store brand version of what Santi Cazorla can do. He was good, but, not quite at that same level. And I think that we all want Xhaka to do that, and that's just not his skill set.
Yeah, I have to agree. By the way, I want to respond to Frederick. I believe that's his name. Yeah, Frederick, saying that the fact that we're both replacing Xhaka says more about us than about the team. I'm fully prepared to accept that. A lot of things say a lot more about me than other things. But what can I say? The heart wants what the heart wants. So, Scott, with the heart wanting what the heart wants.
Clive's, saying that
is Clive in our mentions? Yeah, if Chelsea can win with Matic, we can win with
Matic. Yeah, Matic was the guy that would be the Torreira. The guy that, kind of broke up play was the steal. So we have Torreira in that Matic role. He wasn't the guy that was creating.
I think it's also fair to say that
he always had someone, next to him.
When Matic
he had
kind
Cesc next to him.
Yeah.
Cesc was the guy that made them win.
Well, there you go. Let's do it. Let's pick how Cesc would fit into this. So if you're going to put the dreamy Spaniard, the dreamy Catalan into the side, in his peak, in his prime, purring along, playing key passes and assists like it's nobody's business, dropping dimes, where do you have him sitting in this lineup?
I think it's, again, you got to have him in the midfield double pivot.
Yeah, midfield double pivot, same exact way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
he needs a little more protection next to him, doesn't he? So
I think
would you maybe consider playing him in a more advanced role?
Is he a little bit bigger than Santi? I don't know if he had any more defensive.
Santi was thicker. He was thick. He was low key thick, but yeah, he was a little taller.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you need
not going to go there. I mean, you can take a look at him. Look at Santi. He's a low key, a little bit. He had those thighs, big thighs, strong thighs.
That's a very classic, football player physique.
I like to think of myself as having a classic football player physique as well, short and thick.
Girth.
Like a can of tuna. Anyway, let's get off that topic pretty quick. It's getting really weird. So, yeah, I mean, for me, the thing with Cesc is you want him distributing, right, to Aubameyang, running him behind. The one thing is, like, I feel like there's
and he could make a third man run, to show up in the box at the,
Do you need an Aaron Ramsey if you have a Cesc Fabregas? Could you ask Cesc to do some of the things that Ramsey does, but with a little more creativity? So maybe play him in a more advanced role and use him more like Barcelona did. I mean, Barcelona used him as one of the wide players.
He had the skill set to where he could play anywhere on the field. That was just one of the things, or, I wouldn't put him in the back four, but I mean, he had the ability to play any of the, midfield and more advanced roles. Played the false nine to Barcelona, played on, either wing as an attacking midfielder. He has that in his bag to be able to do that. I think his best position is obviously in central midfield, but I think that's something that, he could do anything that you asked him to do, especially at his peak years when he was still able to run. Late Chelsea, Cesc couldn't do the same running that he did when he was with, Arsenal or Barcelona.
I got to agree with Pat Brady here, who's saying, fuck it, it's a game. Just take Cesc and Santi. I would do that. Yeah, absolutely. So we got to make a decision here, though.
Could you play them together?
I got news for you, buddy. We got to do Color Source 2. This is all really riveting stuff. Color Source 2 is being dropped in. Color Source 2 is being expanded. Who's it going to cover? Can we get a vote? Vote.
Are you asking me? I'm rooting Cesc.
You're rooting Cesc? Do we have any Santi votes? Oh, man. I hate to cover up the little genius. I hate to do this. This is going to be so unpopular. But the winner and new champion, Cesc Fabregas. Scott, congratulations. You are the proud owner of a new in-prime Cesc Fabregas in your team. So let me ask you the finishing question of this segment, which is simply, if we had prime Cesc Fabregas at the start of this season, where do you see this team finishing?
I think that might make them the third best team. I still think
it
Manchester
doesn't
City
move the needle, does it?
It does. So I think right now Arsenal are pretty close to fourth, fifth best team. So it definitely moves them up a bit. Just that solid midfield. I think that he can control games, especially when Arsenal need to be able to be solid and hold on to the ball, defend a lead. Right now, I really don't trust Arsenal to be able to do that effectively. But you put somebody like Cesc in there, he's gonna have the ability to control the games, be that metronome passing, be able to know when is the right time to go all out attack, and be able to pull it back and just hold on to the ball. So I think that he definitely helps the team. But you look at a squad like Manchester City, like that is arguably the best team in Europe right now, and it's hard to say that adding one player to Arsenal moves them on their level.
I think you could make an argument. If you want to get really sneaky here, you can make an argument that actually Van Persie or Alexis would have been the right choice, because just having that many fucking goals in your team could be good enough. Like, Cesc knits everything together well. Santi helps us carry the ball and get out of pressure more and just be more well-rounded in the midfield and have that elusiveness we don't have with Xhaka. But, like, if Alexis gets you 25 goals off the wing and 10 assists, and Oba gets you 30 goals, and Lacazette gets you 20 goals, and Ramsey gets you 7, and Ozil gets you 5, eventually you say, you can be a challenger that way. The other guys, I think, make us a better, more rounded team, but maybe having the goals would do it. There was one shout from Steve-O who said, Arshavin should have been in this, and I have to admit, I have a little bit of a thing for the pudgy Russian. Would Arshavin have been a shout for you?
Yeah, that was the Szczesny, really bringing out how his first impressions of Arshavin, how just impressive he was, and I think that those first couple months that he had with Arsenal, it was amazing how good he was and how good he looked with the team. It was. I thought Arsenal were gonna really move on from then, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, look, I got to tell you, like, I think any of these guys would have been great. The one thing I can totally understand is people love Santi Cazorla, right? Like, he's just one of those figures you love, and he was awesome to watch, and his career was cut short. And I think we lost that title to Leicester because we lost Santi Cazorla, and it just totally had our midfield fall apart. So, Scott, I mean, if you're just picking it from a pure joy and a player that you have an affection for, it's hard not to pick Santi. But I think, being realistic, Santi Cazorla was always exceptional, and maybe Cesc was just a tier over that, if we're being totally honest, without bringing in all the sort of emotional baggage. Or is it fair to say, look, they're both really good, they both improved this team, neither of them make us title contenders, so the emotional baggage counts. I'm going to pick the player I have the most affection for. You could go that direction too.
Yeah, and I think that you could make the same argument with Alexis too. I think I want to say that was a lot closer in at least my decision making. I think that he would add something, if on that left wing, that Arsenal really are missing. A second goal threat, especially if we're only going to have one of our strikers on there, and he's a true wide player. His ability to dribble just disrupts defense, and that's something that I think has really been missing. He wasn't. I think especially with the people we have behind him now, I think that it would have been a little bit better, a little bit less of him having to drop back and create all the time as well. So I think that Alexis probably would be another player. Prime Alexis would have been another player that really would have helped Arsenal.
Okay, so I think we're getting ready to wrap up. This was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Covered a lot of ground, and it started almost on time, and did some graphics. And at some point, we will do this show where I'm not just marveling at the fact that it's working and spending most of my time just trying to...
Almost on time today, too, so we're definitely getting big.
Yeah, almost on getting big. Speak for yourself. But let's do this. Let's let Scott do all the fun stuff. Scott, tell him all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so, make us happy, like, subscribe, write comments, you can say bad things about us in the comments. Just, give us the thumbs up, let everybody know this was an awesome video, join, follow us on, Twitter, at Yankee Gunner, at Oh That Crab, the Arsenal Vision, podcast. Yeah, I think that's the name of the Twitter handle for that one.
Arsenal V podcast is the Twitter handle for that one. Okay. Scott's on Twitter, @O_that_crab. So I will just say thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you, man. My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody joining us for it, and we'll try to do more of these over the interlull and break them up. Just real quick, if you do Patreon, and if you don't want to, totally understand. No problem if it's not for you. If you don't want to pay, you don't like the content, you don't like us. Now that you've seen our face, you're disgusted by us or our opinions, totally cool. But if you would do it, we do have an In the Spotlight episode on Aubameyang and Lacazette that dropped yesterday. Scott was on it. Tim was on it. Paul was on it. Clive is going to come on and do some of these as soon as we get the technical stuff worked out. I know there's a lot of demand for his hashtag content. We will get to that. So for me personally, I just want to say thanks so much. We love you guys, and we appreciate you for hanging out with us, and we'll do more of these in the future. So go ahead and like, subscribe, do all that stuff. You're going to see some of that at the bottom of the screen. We are going to say goodbye. We'll talk to you next time. Arsenal 10, Newcastle 0.